BVarsity.com.
What about St. John Bosco? No. We're having a discussion here about Southern Section football. Let's get back to Kern County. You got to about 10 minutes. Southeast Yosemite League. Best news for these two teams is that they both have a win already. The last two years they've met as winless teams. Foothill won 2 years ago. Miramonte won last year, both to break long losing streaks. But they both won a game this year, so they don't have to worry about that. This is kind of a tough game to call.
It really is. And I kind of looked at the common opponent and how each, again, kind of like the Wasco-Arvin game.
And it's pretty close.
It is. And when you look at it, I think Miramonte's offense is playing just a little bit better than Foothills is. So that's why I've got Miramonte by a touchdown.
I have Foothill by 4 points. I'm not surprised we differed on this game. It really could be a coin flip. You had Miramonte. So
hey, did the girls tell you no comment?
Yes, they did.
About what?
We'll talk about it later.
That just shouldn't be said publicly.
I don't know what he's doing.
Okay, elsewhere in the SEYL, this is a big SEYL game here because the winner still has a chance at a league championship.
Yep.
North plays South next week. Highland plays Foothill.
What's going on with North this season? We saw them early on.
Yeah, but they're still 2-0 in the league. They still have a shot if they can win this game. They play
Throwkill to have this season.
The Civil War Sword game.
You know
next
what's funny
week.
is he's the only guy in Kern County that's a top 10 leader in rushing. I think he's number 4 in rushing right now, and he's like number 7 or 8 in receiving, too.
It's certainly possible, by the way, that we could be live streaming North-South next week. Bakersfield against Liberty would be your other option.
I tell you what, I was impressed with Highland.
What's wrong with BCHS Taft?
Well, there you go.
If Taft wins.
Is that at Taft?
It's at Taft.
Oh, that might be good because you know what? We had spotty connection at Taft.
Well, we'll get through this.
Let's do the more than one game next week, Lewis.
Listen,
make the decision.
Highland is a real physical football team. And
that's true.
They shut down South's running game.
Carlo Balmont.
That dude's a
beast.
He is the defensive lineman nobody knows about. That kid could be a college prospect. He's a pretty good player. And Chance Cooper's a good two-way player.
Right.
Receiver and safety. And
see, Highland's got playmakers. They just did some weird things. Like I don't understand when you play power football. Then you suddenly switch back to like a 5-receiver set and try to throw out
with a sophomore quarterback who maybe hasn't been in that situation. So do you like Highland then?
I think Highland's physicality will provide some problems for North. I think Highland can win this game.
I've kind of felt the same way, and then as it came time to make my pick, I went with the Stars, and I even wrote it down. Highland's got to prove it to me. Yep. I like where they're at. I think they're growing as a program, but they haven't won that big game yet. And I think North High at home maybe has a good performance in store. I'd take the Stars.
Hey, have we got any progress on them getting Oildale in their uniforms?
I don't know. Talk to Norm Brown. We'll get Norm Brown on the show.
All right.
Especially if the Civil War game is next week.
You agree with me, right?
Undefeated teams. They should put Oildale in their
uniforms. I haven't seen North play at home.
All right.
I was telling somebody, I said, that's not a bad experience. The band's really good. They've got good food there.
They have community support, not just from parents and student body, but the community supports that team. You don't get that at a lot of schools. No. Let's move into the South Yosemite League. Independence is at East. Independence is starting to play pretty well. East, frankly, probably just wants the season to be over at this point.
Well, Independence, we've seen this season with them. They were just so beat up for a long time.
They're getting healthy, though. They don't have Fred Weaver still.
They could be dangerous. I like Independence in this game.
Junior Lehman is the quarterback now, and he's played pretty well.
Kobe Stancil, man, that guy's a great running back.
Yeah, there you go. So I think we both like Independence to get to 5-4, and they would play Ridgeview next week. Independence does. That's a little bit of a different story. West and Golden Valley. This is at GV. West is one of those teams that maybe is better than their record, but you're right. You're making the up and down the wavy symbol. They've been all over the place. I mean, they beat Porterville, they beat South, but they lost huge to Chavez. They struggled with East High. I don't know what to make of this.
They played around with Ridgeview for a half.
Yeah, and then got blown out in the second half. I mean, that one wasn't so surprising, but. What do you guys think?
I want to see more out of Jalen Simpkin running back, and I just don't. And I think what happens is their playmakers play so much, and I think that's what happens is at times either their mind, they're wore out, or their mind gets kind of situated on one side of the ball or the other, if that makes sense.
And maybe they're just used to too many snaps. I've seen them play
where Josh Boyd looks absolutely fantastic at receiver, but he gets burned as a cornerback or vice versa. And I'm not blaming them or putting any criticism on these guys, but that's just the nature of the beast when you have a team that has 25, 30 guys.
I pick West.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all pick West. This is a game, if they're as good as we think they are, they got to win this game.
Yeah.
SYL, possibly game of the year, is number 1 Ridgeview at Tehachapi. Tricky game. Tehachapi's pretty good this year. Mm-hmm. They grow the grass long up there. They try to negate that speed. The field's narrow. You got to play kind of on the side of a hill. I mean, it's a tough experience. It's going to be a little bit colder up there. Any chance Ridgeview's in trouble here?
No.
If the grass is 12 inches long,
it might be.
You're still fast.
You actually have it as a closer game than we do, 35-20. So you think Tehachapi can hang with them?
I do. I think this is going to be that game. Like you said,
I don't think so.
It's all the elements.
Yeah, and I think this is good for Ridgeview to have to play this game. By the way, and it'll be good that Independence is playing well next week. Lewis, you see this as a close game at all?
I think Ridgeview. I'll say this. A few years ago, we went up to Tehachapi and they were playing a very good Garces team. Crony was on that team. Mm-hmm. All of Garces' studs, and they hit Garces in the mouth. It might be that way. I think Ridgeview is just a different beast.
I kind of feel that way. I think maybe Ridgeview gets the ball first, goes down, scores. Tehachapi gets the ball, converts 3 4th and 1s, and kind of grinds its way down the field and ties the game. And you think, hey, we might have a game here.
Here's the one
and
thing.
then Ridgeview scores in 2 plays again, and all of a sudden the route's on.
I just thought about that. Here's the one thing that Ridgeview could really find a big shutout is that since Tehachapi does not throw the ball, that it's all wing T running. I mean, you put Lawrence White and you put Christian Brown on each side, there's no way you're running outside of the box on them. If they bring them up to the line of scrimmage.
That's tough. But Tehachapi doesn't necessarily have to do that. We'll see. I mean, they're going to have to win the battle up front.
Here's the thing. I'll argue with the PAG meter about. Some people don't understand how physical Ridgeview is. There's 2 physical football teams we've seen this season. I've seen 3 of them. Clovis is very, very physical up front, but kind of weak across in other areas. Centennial is incredibly physical.
They are.
But nobody is more physical, especially the linebacker positions. And when they bring in all of their guys.
Well, and think about it. Spain Howard's back next week.
Right.
And Ruben Cruz, a sophomore, is a big beast.
What about Liberty?
Liberty's got the best defense in Kern County.
Okay, the games I've seen Liberty play, they didn't exist defensively.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute here. Let's get to the SWYL. The first game, here we go. Garces at Frontier. Frontier lost to Stockdale last week. Rich Cornford traditionally has not gone to the playoffs if he doesn't finish 500. They got Centennial next week, so they better win this game if they want to get to that 500 mark. I think they do, but I'll tell you one area of Frontier's been weak is pass defense.
Yep.
And Garces has been able to exploit that a little bit. They've got Joseph Tobias, quarterback now. They moved
Connor Bruce
to wide receiver, which is a move you said you liked.
Yep. And Scott Boylan's a great receiver for them also.
Could this happen for Garces?
Maybe, but I don't see it.
How about you?
I like Frontier.
I think
Frontier is going to control the clock.
Yeah, and they will control the line of scrimmage more than anything. And I think we all see it as a competitive game, but ultimately a Frontier win to get to 5-4. Yeah. Bakersfield hosting Stockdale. BHS looked horrendous last week. There's no other way to put it. I think all the coaches would agree. I'm picking BHS here, and I'll tell you why. It's just kind of the bounce back theory. This team has been all over the map this year, but at all of their low points, barely beaten Garces, losing to Edison early in the year, which is a game they shouldn't have lost. They've come back with their best performances. I think Paul Gola has them sharp in practice this week. And the other thing is if they lose this game, they got Liberty next week. They could be 4-6 and out of the playoffs themselves. So I think BHS finds a way to win at home.
I don't know, man. This was a total toss-up game for me, but I just gave it to Stockdale because I just think they have a better identity on both sides of the ball than BHS.
And that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. But BHS is up and down.
I've picked against BHS 3 weeks in a row, and it's weird.
Yeah, Lewis has picked Stockdale. So, and it's a hard game to call, but we'll see what happens out at Griffith Field. An interesting game. 2 teams kind of on the ropes and needing a win to get into the playoffs, most likely. Liberty at Centennial. Game of the week, live on Bakersfield.com and News Talk 1180 KERN. 7 o'clock is BVarsity game night. 7:30 is the kickoff. Spend a couple minutes here. Centennial, we mentioned they're physical. Liberty, God, they were playing ugly football early in the year. When you were talking about them playing against Mission Viejo and Ridgeview. It wasn't just Jordan Love missing. It wasn't just Matt Hubble being hurt. They were sloppy.
Yeah,
but they figured something, and then they committed 8 turnovers against Cathedral Catholic a couple weeks after that. They were sloppy. You're not beating anybody playing like that. But now they're playing better. I don't know. I think they win this game going away. Frankly, I think that eventually they prove they are just as physical as Centennial up front, and they are better on the edges than the Golden Hawks, with the exception of Colby.
There isn't another team, maybe in the Central section, that is as talented across the board like Liberty has. And I think that's what we wanted to see going in, and it took them a month, but I think that's what we're finally seeing now.
I think they've turned the corner.
Yeah,
completely. Now, this is a tough game. This is the toughest game they've played since Cathedral Catholic when they committed 8 turnovers. So that's going to be a problem. I will say this. If Brandon Robinson is not able to go for Centennial, that's a big problem for the Golden Hawks. Lewis?
Centennial.
You like Centennial. Explain yourself.
We saw some other playmakers come out. They did some nice
Cole
things
Beatty,
against not on Cole Beatty, but the other kid that caught the long touchdown. I mean, that was a great looking play.
Yep.
I mean, I like them a lot.
Roach is a great cornerback.
Well, this is probably for the SWL title. Centennial still has Frontier. Liberty still has BHS next week. But the winner here gets a share of the title. Could be an outright title. And a number 2 seed or number 3 seed for Liberty or Centennial. Live tomorrow night at 7 o'clock here on Bakersfield.com.
I'm going to go talk to the Patriots right now.
For our producer, John Farron, Trevor Horn, Louis Amistoy, I'm Zach Ewing. This has been BVarsity Live.
Looking deep